just past 9 this Friday morning, and we're back again with Breakfast News. I'm Rukma, and over the next 1 hour, I'll be taking you through all the stories that are making headlines across India and the world. As COVID figures continue to rise, the government intensifies efforts to provide all amenities needed for treatment of the disease as well as for vaccinations. Moreover, other news stories from across the globe as countries in other parts of the world too try to take control of the disease. And news from sports as well as business. But first, here are the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to release 8th installment of financial assistance as part of PM-Kisan scheme today. Will hold video conference to disburse 19,000 crore rupees to 9.5 crore farmers across the country. Sputnik V vaccine from Russia likely to be available in Indian markets from next week. Local production to start in July. Total of 216 crore doses of various COVID-19 vaccines to be manufactured in India between August and December. Health Ministry says other companies are also welcome to produce co-vaccine. Total vaccination doses in the country nears 18 crore mark, while 1/3 of Indians above the age of 45 have received at least one dose of the vaccine. Positivity rate in the country drops to 20% in last 3 days. States take stringent measures to contain spread of the pandemic. Bihar announces lockdown till 25th May. Maharashtra extends lockdown by 15 days. Restrictions to remain in force in the state till 1st of June, but essential services will be open and available to the needy. International aid to the nation continues. South Korea, Belgium, Italy, Singapore send oxygen tankers and medical equipment, while Indian Railways supply total of 7,115 metric tons of oxygen throughout the country. United States allows those fully vaccinated to not wear masks outdoors and indoors in most places. Biden calls it a great milestone and extraordinary success in vaccinating Americans quickly. Tension escalates in Israel. Gaza violence. Death toll from Israeli strikes in Gaza rises to over 100. Lebanese military source says Lebanon fired 3 rockets towards Israel. Israeli army clarifies that its troops have not entered the Gaza Strip. Nation celebrates ID-UL-FITR today, marking the end of the holy month of Ramadan. President, Vice President wish people. Prime Minister Narendra Modi prays for everyone's good health and well-being on the auspicious occasion. Hello and welcome once again. In our top story, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will today release the 8th installment of the financial benefit under Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi scheme at 11 a.m. This will enable the transfer of more than 19,000 crore rupees to more than 9 crore 50 lakh families of farmers. The Prime Minister will also interact with beneficiaries during the event. The Union Agriculture Minister will also be present on the occasion. Under the Pradhan Mantri Kisan scheme, a financial benefit of 6,000 rupees per year is provided to eligible beneficiaries. This amount is being transferred in 3 installments every 4 months. In every installment, 2,000 rupees will be transferred to farmers. The fund is directly transferred to the bank accounts of the beneficiaries. In this scheme, Samman Rashi of over 1,15,000 crore has been transferred to farmer families so far. And now news related to COVID. The Union Health Ministry has announced that Russia's Sputnik V vaccine will be available in markets across the country early next week. The announcement comes 12 days after the first consignment of 1,50,000 doses of the Sputnik V vaccine landed in Hyderabad from Russia. Dr. V.K. Paul, member Niti Aayog, made the announcement at a health ministry press briefing on the COVID-19 situation in the country.
स्पुतनिक वैक्सीन देश में आ गया है और आज मुझे ये कहते हुए खुशी है कि अगले हफ्ते हमें उम्मीद है कि स्पुतनिक वैक्सीन विल बी अवेलेबल इन द मार्केट। जो लिमिटेड सप्लाई पहली आई है वहाँ से वो उसकी बिक्री शुरू होने की उम्मीद है अगले हफ्ते, अर्ली नेक्स्ट वीक, और उसके बाद उनकी और सप्लाईज आएंगी और फिर जुलाई के महीने से ये बनना शुरू हो जाएगा और ये सब कुछ उस पीरियड में 15.6 करोड़ तक बनने का एस्टिमेट है फ्रॉम द कंपनी।
Dr. Paul also said that the local production of Sputnik V will begin in July and Hyderabad-based Dr. Reddy's labs will manufacture the vaccine in India, that 216 crore doses of COVID-19 vaccines will be available between August and December this year for Indian citizens. Talking to the media, the Niti Aayog members said that it will be enough to vaccinate the entire population and vaccines will be available for all. He also said the number is likely to reach 300 crore doses by the first quarter of 2022.
अगस्त और दिसंबर के बीच में 216 करोड़ अगर हम इस सीन को लेकर चले डोजेज भारत में निर्मित होंगी। अब इसमें रिस्क उतना माइनस कर दीजिए, बट टू बी प्राउड टू से दैट 2 बिलियन डोजेज इन अ मैटर ऑफ 7-6 months or 5 months actually will be made in India, for India, for people of India. तो इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं होनी चाहिए कि वैक्सीन विल बी अवेलेबल फॉर ऑल एज वी मूव फॉरवर्ड।
Over 17 crore 92 lakh 98,000 COVID-19 vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far. The Union Health Ministry has said this in a statement. Seventeen crore 92 lakh 98,584 vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far. Over 20 lakh 27,000 beneficiaries have been inoculated with COVID vaccine in last 24 hours itself. India's cumulative vaccination coverage is steadily nearing the 18 crore mark. In a bid to ensure that ex-international athletes and coaches have access to medical, financial and logistical support during the pandemic, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Indian Olympic Association and the Sports Authority of India have joined hands to create a special support cell. Ex-international athletes and coaches can put forward their requirements for medical aid, oxygen, hospitalization and other support on an online platform, which is already operational. Besides a national committee, state-level working groups consisting of representatives of IOA, state government officials and SAI have also been formed to assist applicants from every state. In addition to extending medical and logistical support in partnership with state governments, funds will also be released from the Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay National Welfare Fund for sportspersons, wherein financial assistance will also be given to sportspersons and their families who are living in dire conditions. And joining us now is our correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya with more details on the COVID situation. Tapas, a very good morning to you. And well, clearly a ray of hope as the government announces the opening up of the vaccine manufacturing in India. It has said that it has even set a timeline for when the entire population will be inoculated. Also, its approval for and the arrival of the Sputnik V vaccine. Lots of good news in that direction, Tapas.
Absolutely, bang on there, Rukma. That there's a feel-good factor today in the morning. Even for in the national capital, the number of cases have gone down, and the number of the positivity rate has come down. All this is a huge factor. And also yesterday, when VK Paul, the Niti Aayog member, spoke about the fact that almost 216 crore vaccines will be provided in the country by the month of August, September. It shows once again that the government's resolve to tackle this issue of vaccination to each and every individual in the country. And that's he also spoke about the fact that the Sputnik V, which we have been talking about, which 1.5 million doses, which has already come from Russia, will be available by the end of this month, and in India will be provided the jab in India. Remember, its efficacy rate is quite high, over 90% of its efficacy rate. So considering that, it was very important to fast track the usage of this particular vaccine. Also, we've been told that the Sputnik's, there is another consignment of 1.5 million dosage that is going to come by the end of this month, and also in due course of time, we've been told that overall 18 million Sputnik V doses will be available. Especially 3 million will be in by May. Which is already 1.5 already has been delivered, and another 1.5 is expected to deliver by the end of the month. Then also 5 million will be available by June, and at the same time 10 million will be available in July. And it has also been said that 6 Indian pharmaceutical companies have been contacted by Sputnik, the RDIF, which is basically the one which deal with the manufacturing of Sputnik V vaccines, and they have given the contract to 6 Indian companies to produce close to 850 million dosage, almost for the world. Basically, what RDIF is doing is that is using India's hub, it's India's capacity to have vaccine production and provide it to the world. And we've been told that out of the 850 million doses, almost 60 to 70% will be used for the country. So that's a great news. Also, out of the 216 crore vaccines that the government has been talking about, we've been told that both Serum Institute and Bharat Biotech have been told to ramp up their production. It is expected that Covishield will be by the month of August and December, close to 75 crore Covishield dosage will be provided. Covaxin produced by Bharat Biotech and 3 other, it has given the production to 3 other Indian government-owned PSUs, 2 central PSUs and 1 state government PSUs. Out of that, Covaxin of the production of Covaxin is going to expect to be region of 55 crore, and and if we take a close look at that, then we will realize that other vaccines makers also are coming into the fore, especially BioE vaccines, Zydus Cadila vaccine, Serum Institute's Novak vaccine. All these vaccines, including Sputnik, is expected to touch 216 crore by the end of July and August. So August and December. So in all likelihood, in due course of time, each and every individual over the age of 18, as the government of India has promised, and they will provide vaccination drive to all of them, and that's going to be a major work in the offing that the government is planning to do, Rukma.
Right. Well, recently we had also seen how there were many concerns about the supply of oxygen. There were many complaints. There was a lot of issues that were raised about the supply of oxygen and how arrangements had not been made. But within a period of days, we've seen that that problem too has almost been sorted out thanks to the Indian Railways, intensification of efforts on the part of the government. Give us the latest on that scenario.
Absolutely. Again, I remember there was a time when the Delhi government was literally huffing and puffing and asking the center for help and saying that they almost needed 900 metric tons of liquid oxygen, medical liquid oxygen. And considering the fact that there was a general sense of despair at that particular time because of lack of oxygen in the national capital. But the situation has improved considerably in the last fortnight. In fact, so much so that yesterday the Delhi government itself has said that they have changed their production their requirement, and now they require only 582 metric tons of liquid oxygen. The idea is that even now they should have a provision to storage of liquid medical oxygen so that they can prepare themselves. So, as of now, the union government through Oxygen Express or through routes has been able to provide oxygen relief to the Delhiites, which at one particular time was gasping for a lack of oxygen. So the situation has improved tremendously, especially in the hospitals where we have seen that the SOS calls, SOS messages were going out, but that has actually reduced considerably. And it is expected that in the national capital, the situation is expected to become even better in due course of time. We've been told that, as I have already informed, that almost 10,489 cases took place yesterday. Though the fatality is quite high, it's still over close to 308. So in that sense, the fatality is a cause of concern, but the positivity rate, which has been going down considerably and is just over 14% right now. And if we compare at one particular time, April 14, April 14, the positivity rate was somewhere in the region of 11%, and from that to an high of almost over 32% on April 28 to what we are witnessing now of almost 14.2% is quite a remarkable achievement in a very short period of time. And thanks to the efforts of the central government, where they have provided not just oxygen but also ICU beds, ventilators, and other medical emergencies. This particular situation has improved tremendously in the national capital. Rukma.
Right, Tapas. Well, overall, very positive situation. A light at the end of the tunnel in all directions, whether it's treatment or protection or inoculation, as the process of vaccination speeds up, more vaccines to arrive soon, and other news, also positive news on the other front as far as treatment is concerned. Thank you very much, Tapas, for joining us there. And overcoming all hurdles and finding new solutions, the Indian Railways is continuing its journey of bringing relief by delivering liquid medical oxygen to various states across the country. So far, the railways have delivered nearly 7,115 metric tons of LMO in more than 444 tankers to various states across the country. 115 oxygen expresses have completed their journey so far and brought relief to various states. It is the railways' endeavour to deliver as much LMO as possible in the shortest time possible to requesting states. Oxygen expresses have delivered more than 3,900 metric tons of LMO in the NCR region so far for further distribution. As the fight against COVID-19 continues unabated, international aid pours in for India. A consignment of over 5.6 million masks and respirators arrived from Kazakhstan this morning. Another aircraft carrying 223 ventilators, 25,000 vials of remdesivir and other medical equipment from Germany, 3 30,000 vials of remdesivir from the Netherlands and 5,500 vials of remdesivir from Portugal arrived this morning. Earlier, 2 aircrafts carrying medical aid from South Korea reached India on Friday. The first plane carried 10,000 rapid testing kits, whereas the second brought 100 negative pressure carriers for India. Qatar, meanwhile, continues its aid. Extending assistance, the Qatar government has sent a supply of 200 oxygen concentrators, 40 ventilators and 4,300 remdesivir doses. Under international assistance, Canada has also stepped in to support India. 300 ventilators reached India from Canada yesterday. Japan too continues to assist us. In the last 2 days, 200 oxygen concentrators arrived from Japan. 2 planes reached India with 100 oxygen concentrators yesterday. Meanwhile, state governments are doing everything they can to break the transmission of COVID-19. The Bihar government has extended lockdown in the state till the 25th of this month. Vaccination centers, banks and essential services will remain functional during the lockdown. As per new guidelines, ration shops, dairy, vegetables shops will remain open between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. in urban areas and 8 a.m. to 12 noon in rural areas. Shops related to building materials, seeds and fertilizer will be open twice a week on Monday and Thursday from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Only 20 persons will be allowed in marriage ceremonies and funeral processions. In Nagaland, a week-long lockdown has come into force from 6 a.m. this morning till 21st of May to contain the spread of coronavirus. During the total lockdown period, all activities and movement of persons will remain suspended, except permitted activities such as essential services, including agricultural activities. Will be exempted from the lockdown. Also, movement of goods, vehicles carrying essential commodities, food items and medical supplies, including oxygen cylinders and other medical equipment. In addition, movement of interstate transit passengers will be allowed as per the revised SOP for returnees and travellers entering Nagaland. In Maharashtra, strict restrictions which are already in existence have been extended for another 15 days till 7 a.m. of 1st June. The state government, in its order to break the chain of transmission of COVID-19, said that people arriving in the state through any mode of transport need to mandatorily possess negative RT-PCR test report. The RT-PCR negative test report should not be 48 hours old. Tamil Nadu government has decided to enforce a stricter lockdown. The decision was taken in a meeting of representatives of all legislature parties in the assembly. All parties unanimously agreed to intensify the ongoing complete lockdown further to protect lives. Parties also resolved not to conduct any public meetings in the near future. The government also intends to form a consultative committee on COVID having party representatives. The resolution passed in the meeting decided to support the government's efforts in this time of crisis. As the fight against COVID-19 continues unabated, international aid pours in for India. Let's go across to our correspondent Abhishek Jha to get more on this. Abhishek, a very good morning to you. International aid continues to pour in for India, whether it's oxygen concentrators, oxygen containers or remdesivir doses. Give us more details.
So, Rukma, as we have seen that India was one of the, fourth comer when the world was reeling under the world and various European companies. European countries were actually reeling under the heavy pressure of COVID cases last year. India was one of the largest provider of, life-saving drugs and PPE kits and all those wearing accessories that healthcare workers needed to have on them before treating any COVID patient. And these were delivered across the world in various geographies, various small countries and countries where which could not have had their capacity to make these necessary equipment. So last year, the world was needing it and India was supplying it. This time around, the center of COVID, which is like epicenter of COVID infection of the second wave, is currently India, where the condition is very grim, and we are seeing every day like the number of infected patients have crossed 4 lakh per day, and the number of deaths and casualties have also increased. So the sudden spike of the cases have put a lot of pressure on our existing healthcare infrastructure, which did not have enough of ICU beds or monitors or other equipment, and it was not possible to create them overnight. And hence, the world has started extending their support in all equipment, medicine. Oxygen supply was one of the most urgent necessity in this hour of crisis, and the world has come with. We have seen so many countries supplying India with oxygen containers, those huge tankers and oxygen cylinders of all sizes, oxygen concentrators, ICU bed required, those equipment. So of course there is a collaborative effort in the world that this pandemic is not geographically located or geographically sensitive problem. Is a problem of the world, and every country will have to fight it against all odds in any part of the globe. So as long as it exists in any part of the globe, the fight has to be a collective fight. It cannot be left for a country or a particular area of the world that this part of the world is infected. Even one person, if remains infected in the world, figuratively, it will be as dangerous because the infection rates and the new strains and all, they have always created havoc in various parts of the world. So in this fight, the world has collectively joined hands, and India is, of course, right now at the epicenter of this crisis, and so India is getting all the support and sympathies and support from all these partners, allies, friends, and other countries.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Abhishek, for joining us there and for your inputs. And the Ladakh administration has postponed the Sindhu Darshan 2021 due to the COVID situation. Considering the situation in Ladakh and across the country, both the Union Territory Administration and the event organizers have decided to postpone Sindhu Darshan till the COVID situation improves. Sindhu Darshan was scheduled from June 19 to 27th this year. The National Human Rights Commission has issued notices to the Union Jal Shakti Ministry, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar after receiving complaints about several bodies found floating in the river Ganga in the two states. According to residents in Balia district of UP, at least 52 bodies were seen floating in the Ujjair, Kulharia and Bharoli Ghats in the Narahi area. Similar reports of bodies floating in the Ganga have come in from Bihar. In its statement, the NHRC has said that it seems public authorities have failed to take concentric efforts towards educating the masses and checking the immersion of half-burnt or unburnt bodies into the Ganga. And Union Public Service Commission has deferred the Civil Services Preliminary Examination 2021 scheduled to be held on the 27th of June this year. The decision has been taken in view of the prevailing COVID situation. The examination will now be held on the 10th of October 2021. Let's now take a look at COVID-19 updates from across the country. The country's COVID-19 recovery rate stands at 83.550%, with a recovery of more than 3,44,000 patients in the last 24 hours. Over 2 crore patients have already recovered from the disease. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is over 37 lakhs, for which 34,000, which comprises 15.41% of total positive cases. India continues to put up a strong fight against COVID-19 as we continue mass-scale COVID-19 testing drives. As per Indian Council of Medical Research, 18,75,515 samples were tested on May 12, taking the cumulative total of to 31 crores 13,24,100. And let's move on to our next section where we bring you news from across the globe. US President Joe Biden celebrated new guidance from the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Thursday, saying that those who are fully vaccinated do not need to wear masks outdoors and can avoid wearing them indoors in most places. He said it's a great milestone. The CDC also said those who are fully vaccinated will not need to physically distance in most places. The agency also hopes the guidance will prod more Americans to get vaccinated. CDC director said that the new guidance was based on a sharp reduction in cases, expansion of vaccines to younger people, and vaccine efficacy against coronavirus variants. And let's now take a look at updates on COVID-19 from across the world. So far, over 16 crore 18 lakh 16,000 people have been infected with the virus, while the number of recoveries has crossed 13 crore 96 lakh 16,000 globally. The virus has claimed more than 33 lakh 58,000 lives worldwide. The US, where COVID cases are above 3 crore 36 lakhs 24,000, continues to remain the worst hit with the disease. The number of fatalities in the US has crossed 5 lakh 98,000. In more international news, the exchange of rocket fire continued between Israel and Palestine early Friday morning as Israel kept up a punishing bombing campaign in the Gaza Strip and massed tanks and troops on the enclave's border. Rockets launched by Gaza militants were also seen from the Tel Aviv skyline as the 4 days of cross-border fighting showed no signs of abating. The fresh violence between the two nations claimed 49 Palestinian lives, the highest in a single day since Monday. So far, around 103 people have been killed in Gaza, including 27 children, over the past 4 days. 7 people have been killed in Israel, including a soldier patrolling the Gaza border, 5 Israeli civilians, including 2 children, and an Indian worker. Police patrolled the streets and made arrests after synagogues were attacked and fighting broke out on the streets of the Israeli city of Lod, prompting Israel's president to warn of the danger of a civil war, who called for an end to the violence, terming it madness. The hostilities have opened a new front by fueling tension between Israeli Jews and the country's 21% Arab minority, who live alongside them in some communities. Jewish and Arab groups attacked people and damaged shops, hotels and cars overnight. 1 person was shot and badly wounded by Arabs in the town of Lod, where authorities imposed a curfew, and over 150 arrests were made. Arab towns in northern Israel also suffered. And satellite images capturing the trail of destruction in southern Israel and Gaza have been released. The images were captured on Wednesday and showed destroyed buildings in the city in Gaza City and a burning storage tank in southern Israel. The violence has been continuing unabated between Israel and Palestine for 4 days now. The cross-border firing has shown no signs of abating, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that the campaign will take more time. U.S. President Joe Biden on Thursday called for a de-escalation of violence in the Middle East as the conflict in Gaza intensified. He said that he wants to see a significant reduction in rocket attacks. At a media briefing, Biden also said that he expects to have more talks with leaders in the region.
Significant overreaction. The question is how we get to a point where they get to a point where there is a significant reduction in the attacks, particularly the rocket attacks that are indiscriminately fired into population centers. But I expect I'll be having some more discussions. And we haven't just spoken with the Israelis, with the Egyptians, the Saudi, and others. So it's a work in progress right now.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also reiterated on Thursday that rocket attacks by Palestinian militants against Israel must cease, and also said the United States had been clear that Israel has the right to defend itself. The comments came at a joint briefing with Australia's Foreign Minister.
We've been very clear that rocket attacks must cease. We've been very clear about Israel's right to defend itself. We're also engaging our regional partners with urgency to see to it that calm prevails, and our heartfelt condolences go out to the loved ones of those lost. We're also deeply concerned about the violence in the streets of Israel. As Muslims celebrate Eid and Jews prepare to mark Shavuot, Israelis and Palestinians deserve to take part in these celebrations without fear of violence. We believe that Israelis and Palestinians deserve equal measures of freedom, security, dignity, and prosperity. That recognition will continue to drive our approach.
Meanwhile, Argentinians gathered near Israel's embassy in Buenos Aires on Thursday in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza and Jerusalem, where mounting violence has prompted calls for an end to the region's fiercest hostilities in years. The UN Security Council will publicly discuss the worsening violence between Israel and Palestinian militants on the 16th of May. Joining us now is our correspondent Amritpal Singh on the situation in Gaza. Amritpal, we've seen satellite images of the violence. We believe this is the fiercest violence in that region in years. Give us a sense of the background. How do we look at this situation?
You're right, Rukma, that it is one of the fiercest violence that took place since 2014, that 50-day escalation that happened in 2014 since Hamas came into power in the Gaza Strip in 2007. 3 long or sustained incidents of escalation have taken place between the two sides. But for the past 6-7 years, it was rather quiet. And it all started on Monday. It was building up though. There was a court order that was to come on the eviction of some Palestinian settlers by some Jewish settlers in a place called Sheikh Jarrah in eastern Jerusalem, and then tensions started building up. The Israeli security forces and police erected barricades in the run-up to Eid during the month of Ramzan near the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and we saw the sort of violence that broke out in Al-Aqsa Mosque, and we saw retaliation by Hamas and then counter-retaliation by Israel, and now it's full-blown, and there seems to be no exit strategy. Till now, Israel says the Hamas has fired 1750 rockets. These guys, the Israelis, are standing with their tanks and military and troops right at the border of the Gaza Strip. They put barricades there. They started using artillery. They are anyway using jets to bombard that. According to IDF's own admission, they have struck Hamas targets more than 600 times in over 600 airstrikes. Now, if you've been to Gaza, I have been. It's a small strip which is highly concentrated. No matter what the Israelis say that we are attacking Hamas facilities, we are attacking their weapon sites, this, that. The fact of the matter, it is so overcrowded, that place is so high density of civilian population lives there, that people are bound to die, as have died. Today is the 5th day. Already 109 people have died, including 27 children. And yes, it is an asymmetric war. The Hamas does have some missiles, but it is no match to the high security Israeli state. So one will have to see how long they can hold out. But right now it seems that they are in no mood, because there's to give up, and both sides are escalating it. They're now in no mood to listen to international voices. So there is some diplomacy going on by Egypt, Jordan, United Nations, etc. But I don't think that has achieved much so far. So that is what the situation, and it is a really worrisome situation. The visuals that you put out on air, there are worse visuals floating around on the social media, which people probably would have taken from their phones, etc., and uploaded them. So it is a really, really worrisome situation in the Gaza Strip.
Right, a worrisome situation, as you say, and as world leaders are also saying, the United Nations, we believe, will be holding a public discussion on this very shortly. But when we talk about international intervention, earlier too we have seen from the formation of Israel, in most matters in that area, a number of countries do have an influence. Do you see that happening? Is there such a picture emerging even now?
Yes, countries have influence. I mean, say Iran or even Russia does have influence, Rukma, but there is geopolitics at play. For example, the Americans were stalling or having objections, saying that please don't hold a meeting on the Security Council meeting on Friday. They said we are holding diplomatic parleys, so let's give it time, and we can look at a meeting on Sunday. Right. Some ambassadors within the United Nations have met, within the Security Council have met and talked to each other. Yes. So people have different objectives, the geopolitics is at play. There are diplomatic efforts by regional players like Egypt, Jordan, Qatar. They are talking to each other. The Americans are also talking to the Israelis. But you see, the both sides right now have taken maximalist positions. Okay. Look at the rhetoric emanating out of Hamas. They are saying the enemy will have to pay a price, and they're firing rocket barrages, though their own people are dying. They know they will lose this battle in the end, but they still have their own political interests to carry on and make a statement for as long as it lasts, or as long as they can hold up. Right. The Israelis, Benjamin Netanyahu too has his own politics. He's weakening within the country. He wasn't able to form a coalition government in an inconclusive elections in March. His rivals were trying to form a government. Now, if this battle carries on and he becomes the defender of the Jewish people and the Israeli citizens, it could bolster his chances if another round of elections is held. So right. There are multiple things at play there. And right. Of course, there is the issue of land, and it's a centuries-old conflict that has persisted, which at regular intervals flares up. So there are various angles to it. Diplomacy is going on. Finally, they'll have to calm down the situation. There are reports that Hamas will run out of fuel in next 10 days. They will have to calm down the situation, but I think both sides want to sort of do a show of strength and want to blame the other for escalation. So in such a scenario, it leaves limited room for international intervention, unless the deaths are very much and the crisis goes up, and the world sort of uses its leverage. Secondly, the world also, for example, Israel. Many countries in the beginning issued statements condemning Israel. But by the end of the day, Israel is a technology leader in science and technology, in innovation. They have patents to almost every third patent in the world is theirs. So the world wants to partner with them. The world wants to do trade with them. So economics always gets better of morality in geopolitics. So let's see how this plays out. But right now, it doesn't look like that there is a exit strategy. And I think this escalation will continue for a few more days.
Well, Amritpal, thank you very much for explaining that situation better and, for increasing our clarity on it with those details. Many, many thanks. Moving on now with more international news. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said that the United States would not leave Australia alone in the face of economic coercion from China, and such behavior towards U.S. allies would hamper improvement in U.S.-Sino relations. U.S. President Joe Biden has sought to bolster ties with allies in the Indo-Pacific to counter China's growing power. China has imposed a series of trade sanctions on Australian exports, ranging from wine to coal, as tensions between the two countries worsened in recent years. Successive Australian trade ministers have been unable to secure a phone call with Chinese counterparts since diplomatic tensions worsened in 2020. Last week, Beijing suspended all activity under a bilateral economic dialogue with Australia. Australia was one of the first countries to publicly ban Chinese tech giant Huawei from its 5G network over security concerns. And it's time now for our next section, the Web News Review. Joining us now is my colleague Abhishek Jha. Abhishek, we meet once again. Give us so what do you have as far as news on the web is concerned?
Good morning, and to start with, I have positive news global fight of the pandemic in USA, where this vaccination drive has actually picked up in the last few weeks, and properly inoculated persons number has increased. Now, the US has ended masking and social distancing for those who are fully vaccinated. President Joe Biden was in the middle of a meeting with the Republican senators at the White House with the word came of the rule, and everyone promptly got rid of their masks. This is how this story is unfolding in USA, with masking, especially from this government people, and President Biden was also championing this thought of wearing masking and maintaining. So now this is actually easing up for people, those who have been vaccinated and have had the dose, and then a period of 2 weeks or 3 weeks where this antibody injection happens. The next news is from the Indian Express, where the continuous struggle on the conflict of Israel and Palestine is the main headline. Israel fires artillery to Gaza, Palestinian rocket attacks persist. So the news has that rocket barrage from Gaza swiftly followed after Israeli attacks. And although the statement gave no further details, Israeli military affairs correspondents who are briefed by the armed forces said it was not a dark invasion. However, the claim from both sides that Israeli forces are invading into the Gaza Strip, the places where Palestinian habitations are, or Palestinians are violating Israeli security forces and trying to attack them and cause a heavy damage on them. So the conflict continues, and meanwhile there is no sight of abating this crisis of conflict in this recent location. The next news is from the Pioneer. The global drug racket operating from Batla House busted these 250 crore rupees of heroin seized, and the latest bit to counter this narcotics network across the globe. The Delhi police has been able to bust the racket, which was being operated from Batla House. Almost 54 kg of heroin has been confiscated, which is valued of almost 250 crore in the market. With this, there are two personnel also being arrested, and a few more expected to happen after the resolution of the people who have been arrested on charges of supplying narcotics and creating networks to bring it into the country. Next news is from the Times of India. Cases continue to slide in Maharashtra and Mumbai, but fatalities stay high. So, while the positive news is that Maharashtra may have the speaking cases going down further, the decline has been continuously in the last few days. However, the number of fatalities or people who were infected in the last 10-15 days continue to be the growing situation, and Maharashtra has added almost 42,000 and 580 cases in the last 24 hours, while the 2.5 lakh cases are conducted. So, still the number of cases has to be conducted more so that exact figure of people getting infected can be gauged, and according to the policies of the health infrastructure can be created to support those hospitals. Next news is from the Hindu, which says on coronavirus again, it says Tamil Nadu party is agreeing to further intensify lockdown. The current lockdown in Tamil Nadu will be intensified as an initiative to protect people's lives from COVID-19. A meeting was chaired by Chief Minister and is calling with leaders of legislative parties in the state, and this decision was unanimously taken that the current phase of lockdown should be intensified and the stricter rules and the restricted movement should be ensured so that the chain of infection or the spread of coronavirus can be contained, and people in the state can be safely, they have better safety and health infrastructure to also cope up with the number of cases in the days to come. This was all the news review from the way I got for you and our audience. Rukma, back to you for more updates.
Right, Abhishek, many thanks for joining us there with that news review from the web. And now time for some news about Eid-UL-FITR, which is being celebrated with simplicity and solemnity across the country today amidst the COVID pandemic. There will be no mass congregations at Eidgahs or grand mosques in compliance with COVID guidelines. Eid-ul-Fitr is celebrated at the culmination of the fasting month of Ramzan. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended greetings to fellow citizens on the occasion. In a tweet, the President said, and I quote, "This festival is an occasion to strengthen the spirit of fraternity and rededicate ourselves to the service of humanity. Let us resolve to deal with COVID-19 by following the guidelines and to work for the well-being of society and the country." Extending greetings and good wishes on the occasion, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu said the festival reaffirms the spirit and importance of compassion, charity and generosity in our lives. He urged people to celebrate the festival by adhering to COVID health and hygiene protocols. The Prime Minister also extended best wishes on the auspicious occasion of Eid-ul-Fitr. He prayed for everyone's good health and well-being and tweeted, "Powered by our collective efforts, may we overcome the global pandemic and work towards furthering human welfare." And now let's take a look at today's weather forecast and the temperatures recorded across the country. The satellite picture shows the well-marked low-pressure area over Lakshadweep and adjoining Southeast Arabian Sea, very likely to concentrate into a depression over the same region in the next 12 hours and intensify further into a cyclonic storm during subsequent 24 hours, very likely to intensify further and move north-northwestwards towards Gujarat and adjoining Pakistan coasts, and likely to reach near Gujarat coast around 18th May evening. Under its influence, heavy to very heavy rainfall likely at a few places over Lakshadweep during 13th to 16th, with isolated extremely heavy falls on 13th and 14th. Heavy to very heavy rain likely at a few places over Kerala from the 14th to the 16th, with extremely heavy falls at isolated places of today and tomorrow. Heavy to very heavy rain at isolated places over Tamil Nadu likely today till the 16th, with extremely heavy falls at isolated places tomorrow. Heavy to very heavy rain at a few places over coastal and adjoining Ghat districts of Karnataka. And now a look at temperatures from across the country. Well, that's all we have for you in this edition of Breakfast News. And as we go, we'll be showing you some glimpses. But before that, here's a quick reminder. Do wear a mask if you have to set out from your home. The fight against COVID-19 is more crucial now than ever before. So stay home, stay safe, maintain the COVID protocols. As we go, we leave you with these brilliant glimpses from the Swiss Alps, where you can see an electro artist performing a musical piece at an altitude of 3,000 meters amid the snowy peaks. Take a look and enjoy. Have a great day. Namaskar.